Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Bears Den. Today, I'm just going to go over some of these the developer update here, the notes on what's going to be going on and what is going on right now. I'm sorry this video was a little bit late. I meant to bang this out a couple days ago, but I've it's been a busy week. We'll just leave it at that. So, anyways, let's jump right into this and see what we got.
What's up, everyone? This is Jeff with the
Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Overwatch team. Very exciting developer update today because in the last developer update, I mentioned that we would be bringing you something very special, which we call the experimental card. Well, we are now on the eve of the experimental card going live. And that's to say that if everything goes correctly, tomorrow we'll have the first version of the experimental card up, and all of you, including everybody on console, will get to play our first experimental modes and test things that we're really unsure about, and that's why they're going to you. I want to remind everybody that the experimental card is not targeted at bug fixing or stability or anything like that. The experimental card is really focused on radical gameplay changes or things that we want to try out and get your direct player feedback on.
Now, I'm going to make this statement real quick. He did say a majority of the stuff that's going to be there is so radical that it probably will never make it into the game. For instance, right now, they're trying to... We just did the 2-2, 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 2 damage, right? And that's how we're doing our comp matches. And they're trying to make it, because some of the tanks are off tanks. They don't have shields. One can kind of heal himself like Roadhog, but, Hammond, he just gets in a ball and swings around and he'll hold the point. He's hard to shoot because he's moving fast, But what does he do for the group as far as tanking goes? Is he soaking up any bullets? Not really. He's just good at kind of holding the point. So, in Overwatch, we got main tanks, and we got like off tanks is what they call them, off tanks. And they're trying to make the off tanks some way into real tanks. So, for instance, like Roadhog, when he heals himself now, the gas he breathes in to heal himself, it'll put a cloud around him, and it heals everybody else around him and mitigates damage too. So, will that be enough? I don't know. Zarya's got... When she uses her bubble, she bubbles everybody around her. But enough of me talking. Let's go back to Jeff and we'll listen to him.
So, the first version of the experimental card that goes live hopefully tomorrow. Now, as I said, stuff could go wrong, so maybe it gets delayed a little bit. But hopefully tomorrow, this card will go up. And we are going to be testing something that I actually mentioned in a forum post for those of you who are paying attention back in January. That was a change to the role queue system. Now, I don't want to panic everybody, and I want to remind you that these are really experimental changes. We are unsure of these. That's why we're not patching them live. That's why they're not on the PTR. This is just an experiment that we're trying. So the change to role queue that we're going to be trying on the experimental card tomorrow is one in which it changes the number of roles and restrictions to those roles such that we will have 1 tank, 3 damage, and 2 support players. So obviously this shifts off of the current role queue, which is 2-2-2. Now, you might be wondering, why are you trying this change? And I think the why is the most important thing behind any design decision. So the impetus for this was a discussion we were having months ago. In fact, we were having this in, I think it was November or December of last year, where we were talking about how do we make damage queue times faster. As many of you know, when we introduced role queue, which is a system we think is very successful and has overall been a positive change to the game,
I think role queue has been a positive change. I cannot stand playing a game, especially like on Defend, when we don't have a shield. It drives me crazy. And you'll get into games when if people can choose whatever they want, they won't choose healers or they won't choose tanks. They all want to choose damage. And, like South Park said, right? If you pizza when you're supposed to French fry, you're gonna have a bad time.
Added some extra queue time for those players who are playing damage. And one of the ideas that we started to experiment with internally was 3 damage players being available to each match instead of 2. This was a lot of fun. It was very controversial on the development team. We had very strong reactions for and against the system. And ultimately, at around the same time, we had also mentioned to you that we were going to do this experimental card. I made that post on the forums, and so many players said, well, why don't you let us try it? So this is your chance. You can test out one of the wacky things that we've tried. What we are going to be looking for as the experimental card is up is we are going to be looking for the effects to the queue times to see if it actually makes a difference to damage queue times. And we'll be tracking statistics very closely and seeing how it affects not only the queue times within the experimental card, but how that fans out to the rest of the service, including quick play, competitive, and the different modes in the arcade, in particular quick play classic. So we want to see what queue times are like, and that's what the development team is looking for. We're also looking for your feedback because this is a radical change. There's
a part of me that gets bothered that he mentions every game mode except for the training. Now the training, it's a joke mode in a way because you're in a group with your friends or other players, right? You're all in the same group and you're fighting bots, AI. But I'm going to tell you, that's a big chunk of the game. There are a lot of people that they don't like the toxicity in the PvP. And they play over there. And when they first put out 222, they put it there, and it drove everybody crazy. They had to take it off. Like, people would have stopped playing. I don't know. It just bothers me. Like, training to them is just something they throw out there, and it's just a tool to learn the game to them because they're professionals. But to a lot of players, that's not the way it is. That is their main mode of the game. And I think they forget about that. And I understand you do want to tip to the people that are playing in PvP because there's 12 people playing in those matches as opposed to 6, right? That's number one. And then you got the leagues, and the league brings and generates so much money, and so you got to take the pros in mind. But at the same time, I don't think you should leave out the people that love the training mode too. And I play that when I'm just not in the mood for shit. Like I said, with the PvP and stuff. But there's a lot of people that are in my shoes, and there are some people that will not even play PvP at all. They tried it. It was just so toxic, they will not go back to it. And I just wish they would keep that in mind, too, because I feel like they're talking to all the Overwatch players, but those people in training. Please don't forget those people in training.
There's a lot different here. As I had mentioned in that forum post a few, I guess it was like a month ago at this point, the biggest concern we have with this change and why we were reluctant to make this one is we're very concerned about what this does to what players have come to call off tanks, specifically Roadhog, Zarya, and D.Va. What you are also going to see on the experimental card, in addition to the change to the queuing ratio, you're going to see big balance changes to these heroes. Now, don't freak out. These balance changes are not intended to make it to the live game unless we were to put the 3-2-1 system out there. Under our normal 2-2-2 roll queue, we would never make balance changes like this. But this is a look into what happens if we decide to make Roadhog the only tank in the match, or if we decide to make D.Va the only tank in the match. You are going to have some insight into the type of balance changes that we would need to make. So we really want to hear from you. We want to hear from tank players. We want to hear from non-tank players. We're going to be looking at the damage queue times and seeing if the experiment's actually fixing the problem that it's trying to solve. One thing that's really cool about the experimental card, and I want to remind you all of, is that when you queue up for matches in the experimental card, you'll still be leveling your account. So that means if you get another level, you'll still get your loot box reward. And if there is an event going on simultaneous to the experimental card being up, the example I'll use is like Summer Games or our Halloween event, you will still be getting credit towards those epic skin unlocks like you normally do. So I think that will be very cool, and there might be some event surprises coming your way while this experimental card is up. So just remember,
That was the Mardi Gras. It's up now.
you're getting rewarded for testing out new and cool things. And I can't say this last thing enough. Don't panic when you see this card go up. These are changes we are unsure of, and that's why we're getting your feedback on them. It doesn't mean that they're imminently coming to Overwatch anytime soon. It just helps you get some insight into what we're focused on and some of our design process. So we hope you enjoy the experimental card when it goes live. We're looking forward to hearing all of your feedback. And as always, thanks for playing Overwatch, and thanks for being such a great part of our community.
And there you go. I think that wraps that up. Not much more really needs to be said. I know for me, I'm mainly a healer. I really want to play damage, but it just never works out that way. And lately, my tanking has been what's coming up. Mercy, I have over 200 hours on. My next two characters are tanks, so I might have more hours on the two tanks than I do the healer, so I'm not sure. But Mercy has been my main so far, but the way the game's going, it looks like I might have to pick up a tank. We'll see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. But anyways, thank you for watching, like always. Please leave your thoughts and everything down below. Tell me what you think of the new patch. And, sub, like, spread the love, my friends. Everybody, have a good day.